Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Onward Men podcast, a podcast built specifically for men, guys. And the reason why I say this podcast is built for men is because that's where my heart is at, right? I believe as men, guys, we have a great responsibility to level up, right? To get better. Because what I know in my own life, guys, is that the only promise of a better tomorrow is you getting better as a man, right? The only way you have more is to become more. And that is what this podcast is all about. And it's also about the 5 M's of manhood, right? Which are money, mission, muscles, mindset, and marriage. And I believe, guys, that you got to have all 5 if you want to be considered a high performance man. And today, guys, is something I call Muscle Monday, right? And as men, there's so many muscles in our lives that we are trying to build. And it's not all about your physical muscles, right? Yes, gentlemen, you should be working out every single day. And yes, that's going to help every other muscle that you have. But you also have spiritual muscles, mental muscles, relationship muscles. There's so many muscles that we must develop. But today, I want to talk about your gratitude muscles, right? Because every muscle that doesn't get used will not grow, right? Just like in the gym, guys, you're pumping iron. Why do your muscles grow? Because you're using that muscle. And in order to get more grateful in your life, in order to have a better perspective in your life, you've got to get more grateful and you've got to practice gratitude because that's how you build the muscle. And let me talk to you about, and I know if you guys are listening to this podcast today, it's going to be hard to kind of visualize what I'm talking about. But if you're watching it, this is going to make a lot of sense to you. But essentially, gentlemen, there are 2 gaps in our lives, right? There's always 2 gaps that we're living in, and whichever gap dominates will kind of depend on how the quality of your life, right? And let me tell you these 2 gaps real quick. So guys, right here is where you came from, right? Where you came from, and right here is where you are going, right? And there's 2 gaps in between that. So you have the grateful gap, which is where you came from and where you are, right? This is where you are. So that's the grateful gap. And then you have where you are to where you are going as a man. And when you live in this gap, right, gentlemen, this is where frustration lies, right? This is where, like, if you live here, gentlemen, every single day of your lives where most men live in this gap, you will always be frustrated. You'll always feel like I'm not enough. You will always feel like, man, I got to get to the next level. And it'll cause depression. It'll cause anxiety. It'll cause a lot of worries and stresses in your life. And that's okay because this gap motivates us, right? Where we're going, that's what drives us. That's what motivates us, especially if you're a high performance man. But gentlemen, I want you to notice something. The gap between where you came from and where you are, you notice how it's twice as long, right? It's twice as long. And gentlemen, you have to get used to living in this gap as well. You must go back here and say, hey, you know what? I'm not where I need to be, but man, look where I came from. Look at all this gratefulness that happened that led me to where I am today. I'm still breathing. I'm still alive. I'm still grinding. I'm still I still have the ability to be with my family. I still have the ability to be with my kids. Man, look at how much more my income has increased. Look at how much more skills I have. Look at how much more I've developed as a man. And gentlemen, I am here to tell you today, guys, that as a man, you must get comfortable and you must practice the muscle of living in this gap twice as much as this gap, right? Practice gratitude, guys. Let this drive this, right? Because the more you are grateful and the more you live in this gap from where you came from to where you are, the more that'll push you to get to where you want to be. And along the mission, gentlemen, along that journey is the process, right? And the process is what produces the result, right? A lot of men try to get the result, but they forget, hey, listen, the result comes by doing the process. So guys, I hope that this diagram helps you today. And if you are listening to this podcast, maybe go on my Instagram, go onto my YouTube and watch this podcast because it'll make a lot more sense to you, okay, guys? Again, it's all about practicing your gratitude muscles as a man and living in that gap twice as much as the other. All right, gentlemen, with that being said, I want you to dominate today. It's Monday. How you dominate your Mondays, what you do on your Mondays is so important, guys. And I want you to live with purpose. I want you to live with passion. And I want you to get fired up for life, because a man that's fired up for life can do great things, right, guys? It's not enough to just go through the motions. It's not enough to live in the status quo of things. Push beyond your limits, get outside your comfort zone, and dominate every single day. All right, gentlemen, if you enjoy this podcast, please rate and review it, subscribe to it. That would be really grateful to you guys. And also, if you want to learn more influence, persuasion, go to richmugica.com. You can also go to the onwardmenpodcast.com for every manly episode of this podcast. All right, guys, that's it for now. I'm Richard Mugica. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.